Hello students, my name is Dr. Devaruti Haldar. In this video session, I decided to have a small session about what sort of questions you may expect for the entrance examinations in the law colleges. We all know that when a student intends to join a law college, you basically have to appear for CLAT. If not CLAT, then you have to appear for that particular college's entrance exam. If you pass through the entrance exam, then the next phase or the next stage is there is a short interview session with the faculties. So what sorts of questions may be asked in these kinds of interviews? These kinds of interviews basically include discussions about your knowledge related to the current affairs, related to the basic constitutional knowledge or information, basic legal understanding that you know as legal aptitude test also, and also it may include some discussions about your personality, about your interests, about your hobbies, why you want to join a law college, etc. So in this video session, I'm going to focus specifically on the fundamental rights, because many times when we interview the students, we understand that either the students are very confused about fundamental rights, or they may have read about these fundamental rights during their civics classes, or in certain other cases they might not even know about the fundamental rights, but they may have picked up some kinds of hybrid information from different sources. So let's start our discussion about fundamental rights. Mostly, when we discuss about the fundamental rights under the Indian Constitution, I have often seen that students will say, that means the student means the law students or the students who are aspiring to study law, they will say that there are 6 fundamental rights under the Indian Constitution, but they may not be able to state the 6 fundamental rights under the Indian Constitution correctly. We have to understand that part 3 of the Constitution of India discusses about the fundamental rights. The Constitution of India is divided into many parts. So part 3 is specifically important in this regard, since it discusses about the fundamental rights. Part 3 of the Constitution of India, which discusses about the fundamental rights, basically starts with Article 12, which defines the concept of state, and it ends with Article 35, which discusses about the legislation to give effect to the provisions of this part. As we will get to see, not all the articles are included in the concept of fundamental rights under Part 3. There are certain provisions which are discussing about the core fundamental rights, and there are certain provisions which are not discussing about the core fundamental rights, but which basically touch upon the notion, or which basically support the concept of fundamental rights. So fundamental rights, number 1, these rights are basically discussed under Articles 14 and 18. We know these rights as right to equality. Again, I am saying these rights are discussed under Article 14 to 18. The right to equality, which is fundamental right number 1, which have been discussed under Article 14 to 18, are discussed under 5 broad heads, which includes equality before law, that is Article 14, prohibition of discrimination on grounds of caste, creed, gender, etc., which is again connected with the right to equality, but this is something which is connected with the prohibitory understanding also. That means no discrimination would be accepted and no discrimination would be considered as legal when such discrimination is based on the grounds of caste, creed, gender, color, etc. Third is equal opportunity in public employment. Article 16 discusses about this. Article 17 basically discusses about abolition of untouchability, which is a fundamental part of right to equality, read with Article 15, that is prohibition of discrimination on the grounds of caste, creed, etc. And the last section or the last article in this stature is, or in this framework is, abolition of titles. This is under Article 18. We have to understand this, that this abolition of titles is also connected with Article 14, 15 and 16, because abolition of titles basically made every individual, irrespective of his place of birth, gender, his family background, etc., this basically made all individuals equal and they can all go for equal opportunity in public employment under Article 16. The second fundamental right, that is, which I call here fundamental right number 2, is right to freedom. I have often seen that the students basically, the aspiring law students basically keep on beating the bush when we discuss about right to freedom, or when we ask them about what is right to freedom. First of all, we have to understand that right is a different concept, freedom is a different concept. So to have the freedoms is itself a very much important right, and therefore this row of articles that right now we are going to discuss basically gives significance to the concept of the right as well as to the concept of freedom. Therefore, we call it as a right to freedom. Again, here we get to see 5 articles. Number 1 is protection of certain rights related to speech, that is under Article 19. This Article 19 is considered to be one of the very important rights under the fundamental rights, and many times you would get to see that Article 19 and Article 21 are considered as heart of the fundamental rights. Next, we get to see protection in respect of conviction of offences under Article 20. Now this this Article 20 and the last one, that is Article 22, are read together basically to give protection against arbitrary conviction or protection for the accused persons, etc., which are also considered as the fundamental rights. Article 21, which is considered literally as the heart of the fundamental rights, is the protection of life and personal liberty. All of you may know that Article 21 is ever expanding, and from Article 21 we have got one more very important expansion, that is right to education under Article 21A. This has also been considered as fundamental right, but whenever, if anybody says or asks you, what about right to privacy? Please do remember that we have not yet come up with any Article 21B or Article 22A, etc., which discusses about right to privacy. Right to privacy has still been considered as an expanded right within the meaning of Article 21, that is protection of life and personal liberty. The last, again in this framework, that is right to freedom, is protection against arrest and detention in certain cases, Article 22. As I just mentioned, Article 20, which discusses about protection in respect of conviction of offences, and Article 22, protection against arrest and detention in certain cases, may come hand in hand in many cases, especially when you get to see there are some kind of arbitrary arrests, detention, etc., that are made within the meaning of criminal justice administration. Now, I will discuss about fundamental right number 3. Again, I am telling, since this is the very basic understanding about the fundamental rights, so we have already discussed about 2 fundamental rights, Now this is the third fundamental right. Again, this is a group of fundamental rights under one set of fundamental rights. Now this third fundamental right, that is the group head's name, is right against exploitation. This has basically two specific rights under this. One is prohibition of human trafficking and forced labor. This is under Article 23. This is closely connected with the child rights and women's rights. The second one under this heading is prohibition of employment of children in factories, Article 24. Again, as you can get to see, forced labor and prohibition of employment of children in factories, Article 24, they are very closely connected, because children should not be forced to work beyond a certain capacity, especially, and like employment of the children in the factories, Article 24 also means prohibition of employment of children in hazardous work. However, when we say prohibition of human trafficking and forced labor, you must also understand that there are several barbaric systems that are present even in today's world, where human beings, especially, say for example, disabled people, they are like trafficked, women are trafficked, children are trafficked to perform and also to commit certain kinds of works which are very much degrading, and that can even cost their lives. So Article 23 provides such kind of right against such barbaric activities. Fundamental right number 4 is a right to freedom of religion. Again, under this particular heading, that is right to freedom of religion, we get to see four kinds of rights. All of them are fundamental rights. Freedom as to attendance at religious instructions, religious worships in certain educational institutions, Article 28. This is also connected in a certain way with rights of the minority people also, and again this is also connected with, as this particular provision says, religious worships in certain educational institutions. There are several case laws that you will get to see when you start studying the Constitution, which has basically, or which have basically supported religious worships in certain educational institutions, which may not also support religious worships in certain public institutions or public offices. Article 25 speaks about freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of religion. Article 25 is often read with Article 19, which speaks about freedom of speech, expression, etc. Article 26 speaks about freedom to manage religious affairs. In Hinduism or in any other religious institution or religious structures, you might also get to see certain properties are devoted to God, certain properties are named after God. Again, there are certain trusts that are made for managing certain religious affairs, etc. There are certain religious programs, etc., or there are certain religious rituals, etc., that are also already customarily sanctioned by law. However, everything together, these are dealt with under Article 26. Article 27 speaks about freedom as to payment of taxes for promotion of any particular religion. When you read this particular provision, you will also get to see there is a negative freedom included in this. You might, if you are a student of history or if you have studied history, you will get to see that in the earlier times or in the ancient times or medieval times, there were several religious taxes that were imposed upon people. Now presently, this particular section or Article 27 speaks about freedom as to payment of taxes for promotion of any particular religion, etc. However, this has become a very much personal choice based understanding, where people need not, or if people want, they can pay for some taxes. Generally, it is basically, if you go by this Article 27, it basically says that we have a freedom as to payment for any taxes for promotion of any religion, etc. Next is fundamental right number 5, that is cultural and educational right, which is again a very interesting fundamental right, and this is also connected with the child rights also, and with our religious rights, our professional practices, religious practices, etc. So cultural and educational rights, it basically includes protection of interest of minorities, Article 29, and rights of minorities to establish and administer educational institutes, Article 30. Now this cultural and educational rights also indicates that it is not only the child rights but also the minority communities rights are also protected. That is the reason you get to see that in India there are several communities are there, there are several minority people are there whose rights for practicing certain kinds of cultural practices, etc., they are protected. Again, this also in a certain way, in a very loose way also I will say, touches upon the right to or I would rather say choice of food, especially related to the cultural practices, etc. For example, eating non-veg in a particular religious function, etc. These may come under the cultural educational rights, etc. And obviously, when we see Article 30, we do understand right of the minorities to establish, administer educational institutions. Most of you have basically seen there are several institutions that are run by the minority communities, etc., and they are protected. That means they can perform certain religious functions, etc., within that institution, and they can also ask the students to perform such kinds of or join such kinds of things. However, it may not be always a strict mandatory rule for the students to go through those kinds of rituals, etc., because we have also got to see that another fundamental right also gives them protection against following certain strict religious instructions, etc. However, again I am saying Article 30 basically speaks about this right, which any minority run educational institution can say that, you know, we generally have these kinds of prayers or some rituals, etc. And the final right, that is right to constitutional remedies. Now this right to constitutional remedies basically are seen in two broader articles. One is that remedies for enforcement of rights conferred by this part, that is part 3, which is discussed under Article 32. It basically deals with the writ jurisdiction of the Supreme Court and obviously the remedies, writ remedies we say. And the other one is Article 226, which discusses about the powers of the High Courts to issue certain writs.